The alarm screamed through the bridge. Before I could even finish my coffee, red lights flashed across every screen. My hands shook, not from fear but from the sudden rush of blood pounding in my ears. I am Commander Henry Blake, and the moment I saw the signal on my console, I knew our quiet century in space was over forever. Sir, the Kepler colony just went dark. My second officer, Lieutenant Grace Palmer, said. Her voice was tight. 40,000 people gone from every scan. I stared at the screen, where there had been a bright blue dot just minutes ago. There was now only empty space, no debris, no wreckage, nothing. A whole colony of human beings had vanished in less than 3 minutes. Show me the last transmission, I said. Grace pulled up the audio. It was a young woman's voice, shaking with panic. She said the sky had turned black. She said something was coming through the clouds. Then she whispered one word over and over before the signal cut off. The word was Krell. I had never heard it before, but I felt it crawled down my spine like ice water. I sat down slowly in my chair. For 80 years, humanity had spread out among the stars. We had built homes on Mars. We had grown forests on Europa. We had listened carefully to the sky, hoping to hear someone, anyone, answering back. For 80 years we heard nothing. We began to believe we were truly alone. We were fools. The sky had been quiet because everyone out there was hiding. Set course for Kepler, I ordered. Maximum speed. I want a full recon team ready when we arrive. The journey took 6 hours, 6 long hours of silence. My crew worked without speaking much. Everyone felt it. Something terrible had happened, and we were flying straight into it. When we dropped out of jump speed, I was not ready for what I saw. The colony buildings were still standing. The streets were still there. The gardens the settlers had planted last spring were still green, but there were no people, not one, not a body, not a single soul. I led the landing party myself. My boots crunched on dry leaves as we walked through empty streets. A child's red bicycle lay on its side near a playground. A cup of tea sat steaming on a kitchen table when we entered the first house, steaming. The tea was still warm. Whatever had happened here had happened only moments before we arrived. Sir, my security officer, Daniel Price, called out, you need to see this. I followed him into what used to be the town hall. Inside, one man was slumped against a wall. He was a mining engineer, about 60 years old. His breath shallow, blood ran from his nose. His eyes were wide open, staring at nothing. Help him, I said, dropping to my knees beside him. The old man grabbed my arm with surprising strength. His fingers dug into my sleeve. He looked right into my eyes, and I saw something in them that I had never seen in any human face before. It was more than fear. It was the look of a man who had seen a nightmare walk out of the shadows and smile at him. They took them, he whispered. They took all of them for food. Who did this? I asked him. Tell me. Who? Krell, he said, and then he was gone. His hand fell away from my arm. His eyes stayed open, still staring clear as throat at whatever he had seen. I stood up slowly. My hands were shaking again, but this time it was not fear. It was rage, a cold, patient rage that settled into my bones and made itself at home. We returned to the ship in silence as we climbed back aboard. Our main communication screen suddenly came to life. Every channel, every frequency, All at once, someone somewhere was sending a message strong enough to blast through every piece of equipment we had. The image that appeared on the screen made my crew freeze where they stood. It was tall, much taller than any human. Its body was covered in dark, shining plates that looked like polished stone. It had 4 arms, each one ending long curved claws. Its face had no lips, only sharp pieces that clicked together when it moved, and its eyes. Oh, those eyes, black, wet, and smiling. Actually smiling. When it spoke, it used perfect English. Every word clear, every sound exact. It had been listening to us for a very long time. Small creatures of the 3rd planet. It said. Its voice was smooth and amused, like a man talking to a puppy. I am Overlord Vakresh of the Krell Dominion. For 1,000 of your years we have watched you grow. We watched you leave your blue world. We watched you build your little homes among the stars. We were patient. We were kind. We let you spread so that you would be easier to gather when the harvest time came. I felt my crew stop breathing. I felt my own heart beating so hard I could hear it. The harvest time is now, the Overlord continued. Your species has been judged. You are soft. You are weak. You are meat. The galaxy belongs to the Krell. It has always belonged to us. We have ruled for 12,000 of your years, and no species has ever resisted us and lived. The creature leaned closer to whatever was recording it. Its black eyes seemed to look directly at me. You have 30 days, it said. Bring your ships home, gather in your cities, wait for our arrival. Those who submit will serve as livestock. Those who resist will be used as sport. This is mercy. This is tradition. This is the only warning you will receive. The message ended. The screen went black. My bridge was so quiet I could hear the hum of the engines deep below us. Lieutenant Palmer turned to me. Her face was pale, but her jaw was hard. Sir, she said, what do we do? I stood up from my chair. I walked to the main window and looked out at the empty stars. Somewhere out there, something believed it had just frightened us into surrender. Something believed it had won without a fight. Something believed we were sheep. I turned back to my crew. I made sure my voice was steady. I made sure every word was clear. We send a reply to Earth, I said. Priority 1, full emergency alert to every nation, every leader, every person on the planet. Tell them the silence is over. Tell them we are not alone. Tell them a predator has come to our door and told us to kneel. And then Grace asked. I looked out at the stars again. I thought about the red bicycle in the empty playground. I thought about the warm cup of tea on the kitchen table. I thought about the old engineer whispering his last word. Then we tell them one more thing, I said. Tell them humanity has 30 days to remember who we are. And GT snorts. And GT, tell them we did not rise to the top of our world by being kind. We rose to the top by refusing to stay at the bottom. The Krell think they have found sheep. They have made a terrible mistake. The engines hummed, the stars waited. And somewhere out there, a predator was smiling, thinking it had already won. It had no idea what was coming. The meeting room on the moon base was small, quiet, and older than anyone in it. The walls were made of gray metal from the early days of lunar settlement. The air was cold, the lights hummed softly above us. I sat at the end of a long table, facing 7 creatures I had never seen before in my life. They had reached out to us only 3 days. After the Krell message, a hidden signal, sent to Earth through a relay we did not even know existed, they called themselves the Concordat. They said they had been watching us. They said they wanted to talk before it was too late. So here I was, meeting aliens for the second time in a week, but these aliens were different. These aliens looked afraid. The one leading the group stepped forward. She, or at least I thought of her as she was small, barely reaching my chest. Her body was covered in soft gray feathers. Her eyes were large and gentle, like a bird that had never known a predator. Her voice when she spoke was soft and musical. "I am Ambassador Tyler," she said. "I speak for 7 free species in this region of the stars. We have all suffered under the Krell. We have all watched our homes burn. We have come to offer you our sorrow and our help and our final warning." "Your sorrow?" I asked. "You think we have already lost?" Tyler looked down at the table. Her feathers trembled slightly. "Commander Blake," she said, "you do not understand what you face. No one ever does until it is too late. The Krell have ruled this part of the galaxy for 12,000 years. They have gone to war 400 times. They have never lost, not once, not ever." I waited. I did not speak. I wanted her to say everything she had come to say. She looked up at me. Her soft eyes were wet. "They came to my world 200 years ago," she said. "My people were farmers. We had never built a weapon in our entire history. We did not know what a weapon was. The Krell arrived and they took our children. They took our young ones. They ate them, not for hunger, for pleasure. They said our children tasted sweet." A small male creature beside her, covered in green scales, nodded slowly. "My people fought back," he said. "We had ships. We had guns. We thought we were strong. The Krell killed 1 billion of us in 6 days. Then they took the rest as slaves. I'm the last free member of my species, the last one in the stars." One by one, each of the 7 told me their story, each one worse than the last. Worlds burned, species broken, whole cultures turned into meat for Krell tables. My hands were fists. By the time they finished, my jaw hurt from grinding my teeth. Tila looked at me with pity in her eyes. "We came to offer you shelter," she said gently. "There are places far from Krell, hunting grounds, hidden worlds. We can take some of your people there. Perhaps we can save a few thousand of you. Perhaps your species can survive in hiding the way mine has." I stared at her for a long moment. Then I did something she was not expecting. I laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was a small, tired, angry laugh. Every creature at the table stared at me with wide, shocked eyes. "Ambassador Tila," I said when I had stopped laughing, "I thank you for your offer. I thank you for your kindness. And I am going to say no." "Commander," she said, her voice trembling, "if you fight them, they will end you. They will end every human who has ever lived. Your whole species gone. Like mine almost was." "Maybe," I said. I leaned forward. I put both hands flat on the table. "Maybe they will, but let me ask you something. Ambassador, how many humans did the Krell study before they decided we were prey?" Tila tilted her head, confused. "They study all species before harvest. They would have watched you for many centuries." "And what did they see?" I asked. She paused. "They saw a young species," she said carefully, "a species that built cities, a species that explored space, a species that had had many problems among itself. Say it plainly, Ambassador. Her soft eyes looked down. They saw a species that fought itself. She said again and again, your history is full of conflict between your own people. The Krell saw this and they decided you would be easy, a species that cannot even keep peace with itself, cannot stand against a united enemy. I nodded slowly. That is exactly what I hope they saw, I said. Every alien at the table stared at me. They did not understand. Ambassador, I said, the Krell have fought 400 wars. I believe you, but I want you to understand something very important about my species. Every one of those wars the Krell fought against peaceful peoples, against farmers like your kind, against scientists, against builders. They have never in 12,000 years fought a species that grew up fighting itself. I stood up. I walked around the table, slowly looking at each of them. Humans have been at war with something for all of our history, I said. First, we were at war with the animals that hunted us. We were small, we were soft. We had no claws, we had no sharp teeth. By every rule of nature, we should have died out long ago. Instead, we invented tools, we invented fire, we hunted the things that hunted us, we drove them to extinction, then we turned on each other. We fought over land, we fought over food, we fought over ideas. For thousands of years we fought, and through every war we got better at it. We learned, we grew. We became the most dangerous thing our planet had ever seen. I stopped at the head of the table. Again, I looked down at Tila. The Krell saw our wars and thought we were weak, I said softly. They were wrong. Our wars were practice. Our wars were training. For 10,000 years humanity has been getting ready for a real enemy. One worth fighting, one we could all unite against. The Krell just gave us that enemy. Tila's feathers were standing straight up now. Her large eyes were wider than ever. Commander, she whispered, you sound like you sound almost happy. I thought about that. I thought about it. Honestly, no, I said, not happy but ready. For the first time in a very long time, every human on Earth is going to agree on something that has not happened in 10,000 years. Do you know what happens when 8 billion humans finally agree on a single goal? She shook her head. Neither does the galaxy, I said, but it is about to find out. I spent the next 2 weeks traveling between the moon and Earth. The world was changing faster than anyone could follow. Nations that had been arguing for centuries suddenly put aside every complaint. Factories that had made cars and phones were being rebuilt to make warships. Schools were teaching children about our history, the long and difficult history of survival. I met with the Earth Council. Every nation sent its leader. I stood at the front of the room and I told them everything: the Concordat, the 400 wars, the 12,000 years of Krell rule. I told them what we were facing. When I was finished, an old woman stood up. Her name was Prime Minister Helen Carter from Britain. She had been a soldier when she was young. She walked with a cane now. Her eyes were sharp. Commander Blake, she said, I have one question. Do we have a chance? An honest answer, please. No speeches. I thought about it. I thought about the Concordat stories. I thought about the 400 wars. I thought about the Krell overlords smiling on our screens. Yes, I said, we have a chance, but only if we stop being polite. Only if we use every weapon we have ever built, every idea we have ever imagined, every ounce of anger that still lives in us. From our old fights, we were not designed to be prime minister. We were built to be something far more frightening. It is time we remembered that. She nodded slowly. She turned to the rest of the council. I move that Earth unite under a single command, she said. I move that every nation, everything we have, I move that we answer the Krell with the full weight of our species. The vote was unanimous, every single nation, no arguments, no debates. For the first time in human history, Earth had one leader, one voice, one purpose. As I walked out of the meeting, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. It was not hope. Hope is a quiet thing. This was something louder. It was the feeling you get when you finally stop running from a fight you always knew was coming. The feeling of turning around. The feeling of showing your teeth. Somewhere out there in the cold black, between stars, the Krell were preparing their harvest fleet. They were counting their days. They were sharpening their claws. They did not know it yet, but on Earth, something very old was waking up. Something we had buried under 1,000 years of peace. Something that had been there all along, sleeping, waiting, patient. We were remembering how to be what we had always been. And we were going to show the galaxy. The first Krell ship arrived 18 days early. I was aboard the flagship Ironheart when it happened. Our deep space scanners picked up a fleet coming out of jump near Neptune, 200 ships, all painted black, all shaped like spikes pointing straight at Earth. They could not wait 30 days, I said to my crew. Their pride is too big. Captain Thomas Wright, my tactical officer, nodded. They want to prove point, sir. They want to show us this war will be easy. I stood up from my chair. I looked around my bridge. My crew was young, most of them under 30. They had grown up in peaceful times. They had never seen real battle, but their faces were hard. Their hands were steady. Something in them had woken up in the last 2 weeks. Signal the fleet, I said. All ships to battle positions. Formation Sierra. Activate the Neptune mines. My communications officer, Mary Fletcher, looked up quickly. Sir, the mines have never been tested in real combat. I know, I said, but neither has anything else. Light them up. The Krell came at us in a straight line. That was their first mistake. Their ships were fast, heavy, and covered in thick armor. They were built to scare smaller enemies into running. They were not built to fight an enemy that wanted them to come closer. I had studied every scrap of information the Concordat had given us about Krell tactics. In 400 wars they had always done the same thing: arrive fast, hit hard, break the enemy's will in the first 5 minutes, then chase down the runners and clean up. So I did something they did not expect. I did not run, I did not fight, I did nothing at all. Sir, Captain Wright said as the Krell fleet got closer and closer. They are in range. Should we fire? Not yet. Sir, they are in heavy weapons range. Not yet. Sir, they are about to fire on us. Not yet. My bridge was dead silent. Every one of my officers was staring at me. The Krell ships were so close now, I could see the glow of their weapons charging. Their lead ship was only minutes away from blasting the iron heart out of the sky. Then, at exactly the right moment, the asteroid field between us and the Krell came alive. Hundreds of what it looked like ordinary rocks suddenly opened up. Inside each one was a human warhead. The Krell fleet had flown straight through our trap without noticing it. The rocks had been drifting there for 2 weeks, waiting silent, dead, patient. The rocks exploded all at once. 40 Krell ships were caught in the center of it. Their shields had been facing forward, ready for our guns. They were not ready for an explosion coming from every direction at once. 40 ships gone in a single moment. No survivors. Now, I said quietly. The Iron Heart and every human ship behind us opened fire. We had been holding our weapons back for a reason. The Krell had no idea how powerful new guns were. We had kept our real weapons hidden from their long-range scans. They had come in expecting old human technology, slow, weak, simple. They had forgotten what humans do when they know a fight is coming. Our guns cut through Krell armor like it was paper. Their ships broke apart in bright flashes of light. Another 30 ships fell in the first minute of open battle. The Krell fleet commander, whose voice I could hear across our captured channels, was shouting in shock. They are using weapons we do not know. He cried to his ships, pull back, pull back. But I was not going to let them pull back. Drone swarm launch, I ordered. From hidden platforms around Neptune, 10,000 small human drones burst out like a storm. Each drone was about the size of a family car. Each one carried a single warhead. They were fast, they were smart, and they had no crew to lose. They were the perfect weapon against enemies who were used to fighting big, slow ships. The drones swarmed the Krell fleet. They flew in patterns the Krell had never seen. They moved like a cloud of angry bees, then suddenly split into a dozen smaller clouds, each one attacking a different ship. The Krell tried to shoot them down. They got some, but 10,000 drones is a lot of drones. The ones that got through did terrible damage. By the end of the 3rd hour, the Krell fleet of 200 ships had shrunk to less than 20. Those 20 were trying to jump away, but we had one more surprise waiting. Jump jammers active, Fletcher reported. The Krell ships tried to enter their jump drives. Nothing happened. Our jammers, hidden in small ships around the battlefield, were blocking every jump signal. The Krell could not leave. 3 of the remaining ships finally escaped when they flew into the shadow of Neptune itself, out of range of our jammers. The rest did not make it. Sir, Wright said, his voice shaking slightly. Battle is over. We have lost 18 ships. The Krell have lost 197. Their 3 survivors are running for jump space. I sat back down in my chair. My heart was pounding. My hands were cold. I had just watched a battle that should have gone very differently. The Krell had come here expecting to crush us. Instead, we had crushed them. Let those 3 go, I said. Let them run home. Let them tell the Overlord what happened. Wright raised an eyebrow. Sir, should we not destroy them? No, I said. I want the Krell to know. I want every one of them to hear the story. I want them to feel what their victims felt. The Krell have never been afraid in 12,000 years. They are going to learn what fear tastes like. Over the next 2 days, we collected the remains of the Krell fleet. We snorts found captured human colonists in the cargo holds of some ships, thousands of them still alive, still waiting. We brought them home. We also recovered Krell bodies For the first time, our scientists could study them up close. They were strong there. Bones were almost like metal there. Muscles were 3 times denser than a human's. One of our researchers, a woman named Dr. Emma Carter, told me something interesting. Sir, she said, their bodies are amazing. They are perfect predators. Fast, strong, sharp. But here is the problem for them. They are designed to hunt prey that runs. They are designed to hunt things that are afraid. Their whole biology is built around that. But if their prey stops running, if their prey turns around and attacks them, they do not know how to respond. Their instincts fail. Their minds freeze. I thought about that for a long time. Dr. Carter, I said, are you telling me the Krell are only dangerous against things that are afraid of them? Yes, sir, I am. I smiled for the first time in 2 weeks. 3 days later, the real response came. Our long-range scanners picked up a signal from deep Krell space. It was the Overlord himself. He was broadcasting on every frequency, just like before, but this time his voice was different. The calm amusement was gone. In its place was something wild, something hot. Creatures of Earth, he said, you have made a mistake that no species has ever made. You have wounded the Krell. You have taken our ships. You have kept our dead. For this I am calling a hunt. Do you know what a hunt is, little creatures? He did not wait for us to answer. A hunt has not been called in 6,000 years, he continued. A hunt is when every warrior of the Krell leaves every world and joins one fleet, every ship, every warrior, every weapon. We come to your little blue planet. We will turn it into dust. We will hunt every one of you across every colony you have ever built. We will not stop. We will not rest. There will be no Krell left to defend our own worlds because there will be no need. When the hunt returns, humanity will be a memory, and that memory will teach every species in the galaxy what happens when prey forgets its place. The signal ended. My bridge was silent. Captain Wright turned to me slowly. Sir, he said, every Krell warrior in one fleet coming here. Yes, I said. We estimate their full military to be 40,000 ships, sir. Yes. We have perhaps 3,000 ships, sir, even with Concordat help. Yes. Wright swallowed. Sir, why are you smiling? I looked at my crew. I looked at the stars outside. I thought about what the Overlord had just said. Every Krell warrior, every ship, every weapon, all coming here, all leaving their home worlds empty, all focusing on one planet, on Earth, where they thought we would be helpless. Captain Wright, I said softly, the Krell have just made their second mistake. They are bringing their entire species to one place. They are putting every one of their warriors inside our reach. They think they are coming to finish us. They do not understand what they are doing. I stood up. I faced my crew. I made my voice carry across the bridge. They are bringing the entire Krell species into one battle, I said, and we, my friends, are going to end their empire in a single day. Wright slowly began to smile too. So did Fletcher, so did the rest of my crew. It spread across the bridge like a fire catching on dry wood. Somewhere out there, 40,000 Krell ships were leaving their home worlds. They were gathering. They were coming. They thought they were bringing death. They had no idea that they were coming to their own funeral. And humanity was waiting for them. Patient, quiet, ready. The way we had always been, under the thin skin of our peaceful years. The way we were always going to be. Again. The Krell hunt took 12 days to arrive. I used every one of those days. Earth had become something strange and beautiful in those final weeks. The whole planet was one giant workshop. Every city was making something for the war. Every field was growing food for soldiers. Every school was training young minds to think about the battle. Ahead, children painted the Earth flag. On walls, old men and women came out of retirement to help in factories. Husbands and wives worked side by side on assembly lines. I had never been more proud of my species. On the 8th day, Ambassador Tyla came to see me on the moon base. She had been watching from a distance. She had heard about Neptune. She had seen our preparations. Commander Blake, she said softly, I have been sent by the Concordat to offer you our ships. Only 50. We do not have much, but we want to help. I thanked her. I meant it, but then I said something that surprised her. Ambassador, I do not want your ships. She tilted her head, her feathers ruffled in confusion. You do not? No, I said, I want your people to stay safe. I want them to live. This is our fight, Ambassador. Humanity has been preparing for this for 10,000 years. Whether we knew it or not, if we fail, the Concordat is the last hope of the galaxy. You must survive, not for us, for everyone. Tyla's soft eyes filled with tears. I had learned that her species cried the same way humans did. She reached out one small hand and touched my arm. I do not understand your species, Commander Blake, she whispered. In every story I was taught, predators crush weaker creatures. They eat them. They enjoy it. That is the way of the galaxy. But you, your people are different. You are more dangerous than the Krell, more dangerous than any species I have ever known, and yet you protect us. You tell us to stay safe. Why? I thought about her question. I thought about all the wars my species had ever fought. I thought about the good people and the bad people. I thought about our long, difficult history. Ambassador, I said, my species has been a predator for a very long time, but we are not only predators. Somewhere along the way we became something more. We became protectors. We started fighting, not only for ourselves, but for the ones smaller than us. That is the real reason. The Krell have no chance against us. They fight because they are hungry. We fight because we are angry. And anger, Ambassador, is much, much stronger than hunger. She nodded slowly. She squeezed my arm once, then turned and walked away. On the 12th day they came. The Krell fleet dropped out of jump space at the edge of our solar system. 40,000 ships, more than I had ever seen. In one place, more than anyone had ever seen. The whole Krell species was there, packed into those black spikes, their military, their leaders, their future, all in one great dark cloud moving toward Earth. I stood on the bridge of the Ironheart. My fleet was gathered around me, 3,000 human ships, every warship we had, every defender we could build, every person who could fly a ship was there. I could see them spread out in every direction. A small blue cloud against the great black one coming toward us. The Overlord's face appeared on my screen one last time. Little creatures, he said. His voice was full of cold fire. I will give you one final chance. Kneel, surrender your planet. Half of your species will serve as food for the Krell. The other half will live as slaves. If you fight, I will end every human across every world. you have ever touched, there will be no mercy, there will be no end. You have 10 minutes to decide. I turned off the feed. I did not need to hear him anymore. I turned on my own broadcast. I wanted every human everywhere to hear what I was about to say. Every city on Earth, every colony on Mars, every outpost in the stars, every soldier on every ship. I wanted my voice to reach them all. People of Earth, I began. My voice was calm, steady. For 10,000 years we have been many things. We have been farmers and builders, poets and scientists, dreamers and explorers. We have been peaceful, we have been cruel, we have been everything a species can be. Today, the galaxy has come to decide what we really are. They think they already know. They are wrong. I took a breath. I felt the weight of 8 billion human lives resting on my shoulders. We are the children of a small blue world, a world that tried to kill us 1,000 times, a world that sent ice ages and plagues and disasters to wipe us out. We never died. We are the grandchildren of those who hunted creatures twice their size with nothing but sticks and stones. We are the great-grandchildren of those who crossed oceans in wooden boats because they wanted to see what was on the other side. We are the family of every human who ever stood up when the world told them to stay down. I could feel my fleet listening. I could feel the Earth listening. I could feel the whole galaxy listening. A predator has come to our door, I said. A predator who thinks we are food. Predator who has ruled the stars for 12,000 years. He has told us to kneel. He has told us to serve. I paused. I made my voice hard as stone. We will not kneel. We will not serve. We are humanity, and humanity bows to no one. Then I cut the broadcast. I turned to my crew. I gave the order. Ragnarok protocol, I said. All weapons. All systems begin. What happened next, I will remember for the rest of my life. First came the railguns. Earth had built them in secret during the peaceful years. Huge, long weapons hidden in the mountains of our planet. They fired massive projectiles at nearly the speed of light. A single shot could break a Krell dreadnought in half. We had hundreds of them. The first Krell capital ship exploded before its captain even knew what had hit it. Then another, then another. Railguns fired in perfect waves, one after the other, tearing through the front of the Krell fleet like a hot knife through butter. The Overlord's voice came over every channel again. This time he was shouting, "What is this? What are these weapons? Pull back the center ships. Advance the side wings." But I had a surprise for his side wings, too. From the dark side of the moon, a weapon our scientists had been building for 3 years suddenly came to life. We called it the Sun Mirror. It was a huge array of mirrors that could catch the light of our own sun, focus it into a single point, and fire it as a beam of pure energy. The beam was as hot as the surface of a star. The Sun Mirror fired. A line of white fire cut across the Krell formation. 50 Krell ships vanished instantly. They did not break apart. They did not burn. They just stopped existing. The Sun Mirror fired again and again. Every 10 seconds, another line of white fire ate through the Krell fleet. The Overlord was screaming now. His voice had lost its calm. His pride was breaking. They cannot have this technology. They are a young species. This is not possible. Attack formation. All ships Forward, crush them. The Krell came at us as one great black wall, 30,000 ships still left, charging straight toward Earth. They wanted to get past our big weapons and into close range where their ships was stronger. I had been waiting for this too. Drone swarm launch, I ordered, all of them. This time it was not 10,000 drones, it was 1,000,000, a snortsful million. Small human drones built in every factory on Earth over the last 2 weeks. They came from everywhere, from hidden bases on the moon, from stations around Mars, from asteroid fields, from the dark spaces between planets, 1,000,000 little drones, each one carrying a warhead, each one smarter than the last. The drone swarm met the Krell wall. The battle that followed was not like any battle in history. The Krell ships were big and strong, the drones were small and endless. Every Krell ship had to fight off hundreds of drones at once. Their guns were big and slow, the drones were small and fast, one by one even. The mighty Krell dreadnoughts began to fall. Meanwhile, my main fleet, my 3,000 human ships, moved forward in perfect formation. We had trained for this. Every captain knew their part, every pilot knew their target. We used every dirty trick from every war we had ever fought. We used tricks from the sea battles of the old wars. We used tricks from the sky battles of the century after. We used tricks from every small fight and every big fight humanity had ever lived through. The Krell had never faced a species that had fought so many wars against itself. They did not know how to handle us. Every move they made we had seen before. Every tactic they tried we had tried against each other 1,000 years ago and learned to beat. 6 hours into the battle, the Krell fleet was down to less than 10,000 ships. My fleet had lost about 400. The numbers were impossible. No one had ever won a battle like this. No one had ever believed it was possible. Then the Overlord did something I had been hoping for. He ordered his personal flagship forward. It was the biggest ship I had ever seen. 3 miles long, black as space itself. Covered in guns, it was his pride. It was the heart of the Krell hunt. And he was bringing it into the battle himself. Because his warriors were losing and his Krell pride could not accept defeat. All ships focus on the flagship. I ordered, bring it down. What followed was the longest hour of my life. The Krell flagship was powerful. It had weapons we had never seen. Its shields were thicker than any armor in history, but we did not stop. Every ship in my fleet that still had weapons fired. At that one ship, the rail guns fired. The sun mirror fired. 100,000 drones attacked it. Slowly the flagship began to break. I made a decision. I turned to my crew. Prepare a boarding shuttle, I said. I am going aboard. Captain Wright stared at me. Sir, you cannot. The Overlord is too dangerous. He is bigger than any human. He is a warrior. Let me send a team. No, I said, this needs to be me. He needs to see a human. He needs to understand what he fought. I will take a small team. I will end this myself. If I die, Captain, you have command, but I am not going to die today, Thomas. I am going to finish what they started. I took 20 of my best soldiers. We flew a small shuttle through the fire and the drones and the broken pieces of ships. We docked with the flagship through a hole we blasted in its side. We walked through its halls. Krell warriors came at us. They were huge, strong, terrifying. In any other Fight they would have won, but we were not here to fight fair. We used every tool we had. We used small charges. We used clever traps. We used the narrow hallways against their big bodies. 20 humans moved through a ship full of thousands of krill, and we did not fall. I reached the bridge. The doors opened. There he was, Overlord Vakresh, alone. His crew scattered, his ship dying around him. He rose to his full height. He was 3 times my size. His forearms spread wide, his black eyes burned. Small creature, he said, you came yourself to face me alone. I am not alone, I said quietly. Look out the window. He looked. He saw his fleet broken and scattered. He saw my ship still alive, still fighting. He saw Earth blue and beautiful still standing behind us. How, he whispered, his arrogance was gone, his pride was gone. How did pray do this? I walked closer to him. I was not afraid. I had not been afraid since the day I saw the empty playground on the Kepler colony. We are not prey, I told him. We never were. You looked at us and saw small, soft creatures. You never understood what we really were. We are the species that invented fire when we were cold. We are the species that invented tools when we were weak. We are the species that looks at the top of the food chain and climbs to it every single time. No matter how long it takes. The galaxy was not yours. It was just empty until we got here. His forearms dropped to his sides. For the first time I saw fear in his black eyes. Please, he whispered, mercy. I looked at him for a long moment. I thought about Kepler. I thought about the warm cup of tea. I thought about Ambassador Tyla and her people. I thought about the 400 species the Krell had eaten over 12,000 years. Your rule is over, Overlord, I said. Your hunt is finished. You and your species will be taken back to your home world. You will stay there. You will never leave again. The galaxy is closed to you. He stared at me in shock. You are not going to end me. No, I said. I am not you. I will not be you. That is the difference between your kind and mine. You hunted for pleasure. We hunt only when we must. We have no more need to hunt you today. My soldiers took him into custody. The battle outside was ending. Without their Overlord, the last Krell ships began to surrender. We had won. 8 hours after the battle began, it was over. The Krell hunt, a force that had terrified the galaxy for 12,000 years, was defeated in a single day by a species they had thought was food. As I flew back to the Ironheart, I looked out the window of my shuttle. I saw Earth blue and whole still there. I saw my fleet smaller now, but victorious. I saw the stars beyond more open to us than they had ever been. I thought about my daughter. She was waiting for me in the safe rooms below Earth. I had promised her the bug monsters would not eat her. I had kept my promise. And now the galaxy was going to learn what humanity really was. The years after the Battle of Earth changed the galaxy forever. I was 47 years old when the Krell hunt was broken. I had thought when the war ended I would go home. I would see my daughter grow up. I would rest. I had given my whole life to my species. Now it was time to give some of my life to myself. But the galaxy had other plans. In the weeks after our victory, ships began to arrive at Earth, not enemies, not threats, visitors, ambassadors, leaders of species I had never heard of. Creatures of every shape and size came to our small blue planet to see us with their own eyes, to meet the humans who had done what no one had ever done before. They called us many things in those first weeks: the star breakers, the hunt killers, the free ones, the children who stood up. Every species had their own name for us. Every species looked at us with a mix of fear and hope. Ambassador Tyler came to see me on my first day back on Earth. She was not alone. With her stood a tall, thin creature made of what looked like blue glass. His name was High Elder Zor of the Vasi, a species from the far side of the galaxy. His people had been slaves of the Krell for 6,000 years. He had been born in a Krell meat farm. He had escaped as a young one. He had spent his whole life hiding. When he saw me, he fell to his knees. He pressed his face to the ground. He wept. "Commander Blake," he said in a voice that broke my heart, "you have freed my people today. For the first time in 6,000 years, my children will sleep without fear. I have no words. I have no gift great enough. I only have my thanks from a whole species. Thank you, thank you, thank you." I lifted him up gently. I told him he did not need to kneel to anyone, not ever again. I told him the Vasi were free. I told him humanity would help his people rebuild. And then I realized something. I realized I had said humanity would help. I had made a promise on behalf of my whole species, but I was only one man. What right did I have to promise that? The truth was, I did not need to ask. In the days that followed, every human I met said the same thing: we must help, we must protect, we must never let this happen again. It was not one man's choice, it was the choice of an entire species all at once, as if we had all remembered something together. We had broken one empire, now we had to build something better in its place. Earth held a great gathering 3 months after the battle. The first free worlds council, representatives of 200 species, came. Some of them had been hiding for thousands of years. Some of them had been slaves their whole lives. Some of them had been eaten by the Krell and thought they were the last of their kind, only to find others like them scattered across the stars. I stood before them all. I was no longer a military commander. I had been asked to speak for Earth at this new council. I had tried to refuse. I had said others were more suited. The people of Earth had voted anyway, so here I was. The chamber was enormous. It had been built in just 2 months using Krell technology we had captured. It floated in orbit above Earth, big enough to hold representatives from every free species in the known galaxy. Every seat was full. Every eye was on me. I looked out over the crowd. I saw Tyler in the front row. I saw High Elder Zor sitting beside her. I saw creatures with many arms, many eyes, many mouths. I saw beings made of light. I saw beings covered in fur, in scales, in feathers, in skin like my own. I saw a galaxy in one room for the first time, free, for the first time together. I took a deep breath. "Friends," I said, "I am Henry Blake. I am a human. I have been asked to speak to you today about what comes next. I am going to speak plainly. I am not a politician. I am a soldier. I can only tell you the truth." I paused. I looked at each section of the crowd. For 12,000 years the Krell ruled this part of the galaxy. They taught all of you a lesson. The lesson was this: the strong eat the weak. The galaxy belongs to the fiercest. Mercy is weakness. Kindness is foolishness. The Krell taught this lesson with fear. They Taught it with pain. They taught it until most of you believed it. I could see some of the creatures shifting uncomfortably. Many of them did still believe it. The lesson had been deeper. My species is going to teach a different lesson now, I continued, but I want all of you to understand something. Humans are not gentle creatures. We are not soft. We are not harmless. We are in fact one of the most dangerous species you have ever met. The Krell found that out. If you make us your enemy, you will find out too. The room was silent. Everyone was watching me. Everyone was listening. But here is the difference, I said. We choose what we do with our strength. Every day, every hour we choose that. Choice is what makes us who we are. The Krell used their strength to take. We are going to use our strength to protect, not because we are better than you, not because we are gentler than you, but because long ago on our small blue world we learned that a species that only takes will always in the end destroy itself. A species that protects is a species that lasts. I turned to the great map of the galaxy that floated behind me. I pointed to it. There are 200 free worlds here today. There are thousands more species still hiding, still afraid. There are 40 Krell worlds that we now control, and we must decide what to do with them. There are things beyond the Krell, dangers we do not yet know about. The galaxy is a dark place, but it does not have to be. I turned back to the crowd. I spread my arms wide. I propose a new thing, I said. A new alliance. Not a human alliance, not an empire, a partnership. Every species represented, every species an equal voice. One rule, only one rule: protect the weak. Stand together. The strong do not eat the weak ever again. Any species that does not accept this rule will answer to all of us, not to humans alone, to everyone. The chamber exploded with sound. Hundreds of voices in hundreds of languages, all speaking at once, some in agreement, some in doubt, some in tears. The translators struggled to keep up. High Elder Zor stood up. The room quieted to hear him. Commander Blake, he said, his voice strong now, much stronger than when I had first met him. My people have been slaves for 6,000 years. We have forgotten how to be anything else. You offer us a chance to be something new. We accept. The Vasi stand with humanity. The Vasi stand with this new alliance. Whatever you call it, whatever it becomes, we are part of it. One by one, other leaders stood up. One by one, they said the same thing. Small feathered people of Tila's world. The great stone people of a planet I had never heard of. The water creatures of a gas giant in the deep stars. The cloud beings that lived in nebulas. Species after species, all rising, all saying the same thing: we stand together. By the end of that day, we had a new name for what we were building. We called it the Free Galactic Alliance. I did not choose the name. I thought it was a bit long, but everyone else liked it, so that was that. In the years that followed, I watched the galaxy change in ways I had never imagined. Trade lanes opened between species that had never even known the other existed. Scientists from 20 different worlds worked together on projects that had been impossible before. Art and music spread between cultures. Children from one species went to schools on planets far from their homes. Friendships formed, marriages happened. The galaxy, which had been a cold and frightened place for so long, became warm. The Krell on their home world were watched but not harmed. Their empire was gone. Their warships had been taken apart. Their warriors had been brought home. They lived under a permanent watch, but they were alive. They were free within their own world. Some of them, the younger ones, even began to change. A few Krell joined the alliance as scientists and ambassadors. Their species was learning to be something new too. I saw my daughter grow up. Her name was Sarah Blake, and she became one of the first humans to study at a school run by 7 different species. She came home from her first year full of stories. She had friends who breathed different gases. She had friends who could only speak through music. She had friends who changed color with their feelings. She told me one night when I was tucking her into bed that she loved the galaxy. Dad, she said, the other kids told me you saved the whole universe. I smiled. I kissed her forehead. I did not save the universe by myself. Sweetheart, I said, all of humanity did it, and even we did not do it alone. The Concordat helped us. The Vasi helped us. Every free species helped in their own way. I just held the flag. But you led them, she said. You were the commander. You fought the overlord. I did, I said, but I will tell you a secret. I was only brave because I was thinking of you. Every time I was afraid, I thought of you. I thought about what kind of world I wanted you to grow up in. I thought about the promise I made to you. That is where my bravery came from, Sarah. All I did was love my daughter very, very much. Everything else was just what I had to do to keep loving her. She smiled. She hugged me. She fell asleep. I sat by her bed for a long time that night. I thought about all the humans throughout our history who had been brave because they loved someone. I thought about the mothers who had fought for their children. I thought about the fathers who had stood against the storm. I thought about the soldiers who had gone to far places so that their families could live in peace. Humanity was not a species of warriors. I realized not really. We species of protectors. We were a species of love. Our wars were terrible. Our history was full of pain, but at the heart of every brave human there was always someone they were trying to protect, someone they loved. The Krell had not understood that about us. They had thought we fought for pride, or for territory, or for hunger. We did not. We fought for our children. We fought for our friends. We fought for each other. That was why we had been impossible to beat. You cannot stop a species that fights for love. You cannot make them kneel. You cannot make them stop. 10 years after the Battle of Earth, I stepped down from my position. I was tired. I had given enough. A new generation of leaders was rising, smarter and better than me, from every species in the Alliance. They did not need an old soldier anymore. They needed builders. They needed thinkers. They needed peacemakers. The age of war was behind us. I went home. I moved to a small house in the countryside on a hill overlooking a quiet valley. I planted a garden. I read old books. I watched the sunset every evening over the world I had helped to save. One evening, when I was 60 years old, Ambassador Tila came to visit me. Her feathers had turned silver with age. She walked with a small cane now. She sat with me on my porch. We drank tea. We watched the stars come out. Henry, she said quietly, may I ask you something that has bothered me for many years? Of course, old friend. When the Krell came, she said, when I Met you on the moon, I thought you were. Like them, another predator, just a different kind. I was afraid of your species, not the way I was afraid of the Krell, but still afraid. I thought if they win, the galaxy will only have a new master. I nodded slowly. That was a fair thought, Tila. But you were not like them, she said. You were never like them. You freed us. You built this alliance. You protected the weak, my species, and 1,000 others are alive today because of what humans chose to do. Why, Henry, after everything you could have taken, why did you choose to protect instead? I thought for a long time before I answered. The sun was setting behind the hills. The first stars were coming out. Somewhere high above us in orbit, the Free Galactic Alliance was meeting to discuss trade agreements and food distribution and schools for new worlds. 1,000,000 different species were living their lives. Children were being born. Old ones were being remembered. The galaxy was alive in a way it had not been for 12,000 years. Tila, I said finally, I think you have asked the wrong question. The real question is not why we chose to protect. The real question is this: when a species has great power, what does that power do to them? The Krell had great power, and it turned them into monsters. They forgot every other way of being. They became only hunger, only pride, only appetite. I looked at my old friend. Her eyes were wise and gentle, as they had always been. Humans had great power once too, I said. More than one time we had it against each other. We had it against the other creatures of our planet. We had it against our own world, and every single time we almost destroyed ourselves. We almost became like the Krell. We came very, very close, but somehow every time some of us remembered that power alone is not enough. Remembered that the real test of a species is what they do with their strength when no one is forcing them to be kind. I paused. I thought about my daughter. I thought about the world I wanted for her. We did not protect the galaxy because we are perfect, I said. We did it because we have been imperfect for so long that we finally learned better. The Krell never learned. They never had to. No one ever stood up to them. Humanity stood up to ourselves 1,000 times. Over thousands of years. By the time we met the Krell, we had already fought our real war. We had already faced our real enemy. The Krell were only the outside version of what we had already beaten inside ourselves. Tyler was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a gentle, tired, beautiful smile. Humanity, she said softly, what a strange and wonderful species you are. Thank you, Tyler, I said. I think we are pretty strange, too. We laughed together. We drank our tea. The stars came out one by one in a clear sky. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was safe. Somewhere out there, free children were going to sleep without fear for the first time in 12,000 years. Somewhere out there, a new story was beginning. A story not of predators and prey, a story of neighbors, of friends, of a galaxy finally at peace. I was an old soldier. I had done my part. Now it was time for others to carry the flag. The Krell had thought they were the top of the food chain. They had been wrong. They had not understood the most important truth of the universe. Most dangerous thing in any ecosystem is not the biggest claw or the sharpest tooth or the strongest bite. The most dangerous thing is a species that refuses to accept its place at the Bottom, a species that looks up at its predators and decides quietly, calmly, that things are going to change. That was us. That had always been us. And in the end, we did not crush the Krell because we were stronger than them. We did not defeat them because we were smarter or faster or fiercer. We defeated them because we were human. And humanity bows to no one. The stars above me were bright and clear. A gentle wind moved through the valley. Somewhere in the house I could hear my daughter laughing with her own children visiting for the weekend. Life had gone on. Life had become beautiful again. I closed my eyes. I listened. I smiled. The universe was safe. The children were free. The long war was over. And humanity at last was at peace.